Want to become an entrepreneur and get your business degree, but you have 3 kids? Want to become a major in Shakespearean literature, but you have a house to pay for? Sign up for night classes now, and with an added bonus, grab a blanket, turn off your lights, for 3 true scary horror stories that happened in night classes. I hate night classes. I just joined Reddit in the last week, and for the last couple of days, have been reading submissions in Let's Not Meet while sick and confined to my bed. Although I ended up regretting this decision every night when I would remember that a lot of my house is curtainless, a lot of the information and tactics in the stories ending up really helping me tonight though. While my university is only 5 minutes drive from the highway, it's surrounded by bush and is the smallest campus of 5. This is generally okay, because I like that it's smaller and that it's a lot quieter because there aren't as many people. This is generally okay because I've always had morning and early afternoon classes before this semester. Starting full-time work has meant that a lot of my classes are now after 6 p.m. at night, when the campus is quite dark and there are even less people around. I was frustrated tonight while driving to campus as I had forgotten to charge my phone, and my partner liked to talk to me while I worked to and from my classes to know that I was safe. I took the exit off the highway and noticed the car behind me was tailing me and was right up my ass. There was a lot of traffic, so I paid it no mind and just put it down to them being in a rush. I noticed that they'd followed me all the way to my campus and up the 3-kilometer driveway. My campus is a big block of buildings in the middle, and you can only drive one way around it before being back at the 3 km driveway to exit. I decided to keep driving to see how far that they would follow me. As I drove the circuit, there were plenty of car parks available, and found it odd that they were still following so closely behind me. I started to feel quite sick in my stomach and shaky as well. I chided myself for reading so many of these stories and just assumed that I was being paranoid. I kept driving until I was nearly at the driveway again and pulled into the last available car park. They pulled into the park directly behind me, but not in their space. They pulled up so close to the back of my car that I was unable to see their lights or their license plates in my rearview mirror. By this point, I had already locked my door and desperately tried to turn my phone on to see if it had some kind of backup battery, grasping at straws. I looked up into the rearview mirror. I didn't want to look back behind me and let them know I was onto them. They had very dark tinted windows, and I was trying to see if I could see how many people were inside the car. I couldn't see anybody at all, except for a dark figure, and it was then that there was a flash. They were taking photos of my car and myself. My stomach dropped. I saw someone walking towards me on the path up next to our cars and decided that this was the time to move it. I put my car key between my fingers in a fist as a weapon, grabbed my belongings, and pretended that I was talking to somebody on my dead phone. I locked my car and quickly ran to the stairs that led up to my building. I heard their engine start and didn't want to look behind me because I was so frightened and my hands were shaking so badly. As I was 3/4 of my way up the flight of stairs, I turned around and they were driving very slowly past towards the driveway. At this point, they were still taking photographs of me as they drove. I flew into the building and went straight to the security. The security guards were both very wonderful. They took my statement and told me that once I was done with my classes, they would walk me to my car. They mentioned that they would be in contact with me in a couple days after they checked the university security cameras and confirmed with the campus on the other side of the highway to see if they had registered any similar complaints. I am still very frightened and shaken and want to know who was taking photos of me, and know that Reddit seems to offer some interesting ideas. So what do you think? I always trust my gut. I went to a college in a town with a big university where I attended, a second school with about 5,000 students, and a technical college. So there were a lot of young people around all the time. For context, I'm a 5'11", slightly overweight female with broad shoulders, so people don't usually mess with me, but I do get the occasional creeper that says I'm a tall, cool glass of water, or dem legs or other body parts. I lived a few blocks away from campus, so it was not uncommon for me to walk to and from classes. However, one night, I had met with a group for a class project after class, and we were later than I thought we would be. So, I had to walk alone around 10 p.m. at night in the dark. I was fine on campus, and about a block after leaving campus, I got a gut feeling that something was wrong. I knew that someone was following me, and most of the town was shut down. It was a small Midwest place. Everything closes at 9 p.m. during the week. A pizza place was open, but I had just passed it. I look ahead, and there were two girls walking ahead with a pizza, carrying back to their apartment or wherever. I decided better to embarrass myself than to be a victim. I yell, "Hey friends, wait up!" These girls were total strangers, and they turned around expecting to find a friend of theirs. Instead, they saw a strange girl flagging them down, which was me, and behind her, a guy in a hoodie who stopped walking. They both got a gut feeling that something wasn't right, and decided to play along. "Hey girl, on our way to Brandon's party, you wanna walk with us?" I caught up to them and pretended I needed to get something out of my bag, so we stepped to the side, and they were both giving me a freaked out look. At that moment, the hooded man passed us with his look of hatred. His eyes burned into mine, and he continued walking. I ended up going to the party with my new friends. Later that night, we got a campus alert message that a student had been attacked a few blocks off campus, and the description matched the guy that was following me. We contacted police, and the guy was eventually caught. I still talk to those girls occasionally, though we live in different parts of the country now, but I am glad that I never met that man. The late bus. That post about night classes got me thinking about some particular experiences from my days in university, and I decided to make a post about this gem. A little background information. I was 17 years old at the time. I'm a girl. I lived in a rooming house in a fairly quiet, nicer part of the city. The downside to this being that the transit out to my area sucked. Buses every half an hour to and from school until 5:30, and after 5:30 I would have to bus from the school to a nearby transit center and take a bus from there to my house. But this bus only ran hourly. I had to take a night class once a week. All the other slots were full when I registered, meaning I had to do this slog home once a week. So, I finished my night class this particular night at 9 p.m. It was winter, and living in Canada, this means cold and much snow. I bussed from the university to the transit center, and it obviously being cold outside, I waited inside of the small heated little room that they did have at the major centers. My expected wait time at the stop was about 15 to 20 minutes, so I sat down, headphones in, and cracked my bus reading material. Since it was so cold, there was a few other people in the room with me. I noticed a guy about my age, sorta gangster looking, standing in one corner. I can see that he's looking at me, but at the time, I had a pretty unconventional appearance. Dreads, piercings, kinda metal goth look, so him looking at me wasn't anything out of the ordinary. After about 10 minutes in, he comes and sits by me. I ignore him and go back to my book, but I can still feel him watching me. Eventually, he taps my shoulder. I pull out an earbud. "Yes?" I ask. "Hey, what's your name?" I told him my name. "Oh, cool, neat name. What are you up to tonight?" "Going home. School in the morning." At this point, I was getting pretty irritated with the guy, but my bus wasn't there yet, so I didn't have an easy way out. "That's no fun. You should come with me. I'm gonna meet some friends and do some karaoke. You look like you'd be fun." "No thanks. Like I said, I have to be up early tomorrow." "Nah, come on, just one drink. I'll get my friend to drive you home." At this point, my bus rolled up. "Sorry, no, that's my bus. Gotta go." "Not so much." "Hey, that's my bus too. So where do you live?" "Around here." I'm trying to be vague at this point. He's just getting weird and pushy. This particular bus I'm catching goes from the suburbia area where I live all the way down to a really rough part of town, and if this guy is from that area, I don't want him knowing where I live. "Oh, okay. Well, if you change your mind, come sit with me." Thank God. The creep finally got the message. Time to get off at my stop comes, and I pull the cord. I get up towards the middle of the bus, and my new friend gets up to join me. He's still trying to cajole me into coming with him, but when I get off, he gets off too. The stop is like 10 steps from my house, but I really don't want him knowing where I live. At this point, he's clearly following me, trying to walk with me, trying to talk to me, trying to get my phone number. I've had enough. "Dude, you're freaking me out. Go away. Stop following me." "Well, I can't go anywhere now. Next bus doesn't come for a while. Why don't I just come over to your place and wait for the next one?" At this point, I decide to stop engaging. Thank God the road I live was on a pretty well trafficked and had streetlights. I walked to the end of my block and turned the corner, and then booked it into the alley behind my house. I knew if I could just get to my yard, my roommate's dog would scare this guy off. As soon as I started running, the guy's incessant chatter started to turn to yelling. I heard him start chasing, but I caught him off guard and made it a few seconds ahead. I made it to the yard and popped the latch on the gate just as the guy grabbed my backpack. Before he could do anything else, he had a 100-pound former police German Shepherd all up in his grill. I love that dog. The dog knocked him down on the ice and started barking her head off. My roommate comes rushing out of the house to find his dog standing over some dude, and me looking like I just run a zombie escape game. Cops were called, guy is arrested on outstanding warrants, and I start coming home and driving myself to night classes. So, creepy late night bus guy, let's never meet again.